Hi everybody, welcome to my top 5 horse racing games. Now, if I had to pick one genre or style of game that I would play forever, it would be horse racing games. I love them so much. Now, there are a lot of great racing games, and I have an endless list of those that are inorganic, like cars and things like that. I like the horses and the horse-like creatures because there are two on my top 5 list that are not horses, but again, horse-like. Now, my number 5 I don't actually own. It is Billabong. This is a great game, and I know it's not a horse, but it's a kangaroo, and so it's organic, and so I totally count it. And the reason I don't have this game is because it's my Board Game Geek convention game. I think years and years ago, Eric went to the library, brought it back and said, "Have you played Billabong?" And Lewis and I were like, "No." So it's kind of become this wonderful BGG tradition. It's fun, it's fast, it's abstract. I went to the pictures in Board Game Geek, and that's what I'm sharing with you right now with credits. Now, I have to tell you that the very first picture I came across when I was looking for some images to share with you to look at Billabong is of a near and dear friend, Kevin. And Kevin is trying to, read the minds of the kangaroos on the board, but it's a picture taken by Paul, a friend who we've lost since the picture, and it just warms my heart. And again, it just brings back all these wonderful Board Game Geek memories of the convention, and one of the reasons why I love it so much. So in Billabong, players have 5 kangaroos. Now they might be actual kangaroos and they might just be little cylinders, which is the version that I play with. And you are going to race around this oval track trying to get all 5 of your kangaroos back across the starting line. Well, how do you move? You either move your pawn 1 space, or you can hop over other people, and there's kind of like this really wonderful like slingshot effect. So if I want to hop over a piece, I need to be as far away from it as I am, and then I will hop over it that same distance. And so you are trying to kind of slingshot your pawns around the board, strategically moving 1 pawn 1 space so that next time you can move another pawn, let's say 7 spaces. It's just really fun and clever. There's so many pieces on the board. You should totally play with the full cast, right? You should make sure that you have like max players so that there are a lot of pawns out there to do that jumping with. Now, Billabong doesn't necessarily dump me into the theme, but it has a really, really clever jumping mechanism that just makes my top 5, mostly because it has a near and dear place in my heart with BGG Con. Moving on to my number 4, these could honestly be in just about any order. I love all 4 of these games, like a lot. I really do. I would play any of them right now, and I'm not joking. And so, yes, these games are in order, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think you might know what 1 is if you've seen any of my videos. So that might not be a surprise. But these are just stellar games. Now, you might also be asking, are you going to wear this hat the whole time, Kim? Yeah, I'm going to wear this. I am out for the races. I'm wearing my biggest, most beautiful hat that I have. If I had a mint julep, I would have a mint julep. I don't. I'm thinking about it though, so I think that kind of counts. My number 4 is Winner Circle. Yeah, this is 2005 Reiner Knizia's Winner Circle. This totally holds its own when placed up next to other horse games. It is just fun, exciting. It's got the horse names, it's got the horse racing, you've got the first, second, third, and in this game, it matters if you place bets on the horse that came in last. You'll actually lose money. Now, in the third phase, you play 3 totally different races, and you add up your money, and at the end, whoever has the most wins. But in that third phase, double. It's double! So whatever your bets are, times 2. So you might lose twice as much, you might gain twice as much. It's really fun. You never know who's really going to win this until the very end. So you're really steadily gaining money, hopefully, based on your bets. I like playing with the variant that you have a 0 bet. This is your bluff bet. So in the beginning of every phase, you're going to line the horses up. There are 7. Now the horses are pretty ordinary. They're not like special or anything. They have different colors, and some of the colors are actually pretty similar, so you might get them mixed up. That aside, you're going to then lay out different horses for those particular positions, because the horses 1 through 7 change for each race you have, and there's a giant stack of horses. Now when you lay out these horse tiles, they're going to have 4 symbols, and then next to each of those 4 symbols there's going to be a number, and on your turn you're going to roll the die, and it's going to land on some kind of really cool horse symbol. You've got the horseshoe, you have a saddle, you have a jockey cap, and then you have a horse head. Now the horse head is most likely to roll. It's got 3 sides out of the 6, and the others each have just 1. So when you look at the horses and their stats, you're going to see that some horses race really, really fast and really hard. They're sprinters, but only if you roll the one out of the 6 choices, like you roll a horseshoe or you roll the saddle, or something like that. And so is it likely that you're going to get that on your turn and then make that horse move? Like Regret. Oh my gosh, I love Regret. Regret is the horse that you always regret betting on. And I know that Lewis bet on Regret last time, and Regret did not come in. And so you might bet on these big sprinter horses, but you might also say, I need a good trotter. I need a horse that's going to go on a horse head. I need it's going to go on a jockey cap. I need it's going to move on everything, so that players can't tank your horse. And so you've got these bets laid out. They're all secret. So you might be bluffing here. You might be double bet on this one. You might be single bet on this one. And so when you roll the die, you get your symbol. You get to choose which horse to move. Now, once you move that horse, you turn it face down. And until every horse is moved, that horse can't be moved again. The other cool thing in this game is you're not allowed to go into a space with another horse. So if you move your horse and it doesn't go anywhere, oof, sorry for that horse. And yet that's another way for people to trip up, like the horse kind of stumbled and tripped, and so they don't move. There's so much yelling in this game, and it's great because you're like, no, and you're like, give me a horseshoe, and you're just so thrilled. It's so exciting. I absolutely love it. I love the horse names. I love the way the horses move or don't move based on only one horse in a space at a time. I love betting big on big risky horses, but it's just loads of fun and easily replayable. And again, 16 years old, love it. There's nothing wrong with Winner's Circle. Okay, my number 3 pick for best horse racing game is Home Stretch. Yes, race to the finish. This is a really fun mathy game, and I like it, but every turn that you take in this game is so simple and straightforward. So first off, the cool thing in this game is that there's a drafting to get horse shares. Now, in the very beginning of the game, you've got a number of cards in your hand based on how many players there are. You will take one and you'll put it face down. That's the one you want to keep, and then you'll pass the cards. And that's how you're drafting the shares for the horses. So 2 and 12, those are going to be pretty hard to roll on 2 6-siders. So they're going to be pretty cheap because they're not going to roll that often, and they may not ever finish. And then of course, progressively, the horses get more and more expensive as you get to 7, 6 and 8, 5 and 9, etc. Right? So you're going to have expensive horses because they're going to finish more often than others. And after you've done the drafting, you then pay for your horses. So you start with $50,000 and you pay for your horses. Once you paid for them, that's your marker on the board. And so the winner of the game is the person who has the most money, which you start with 50. So your initial investment is taken out of your victory points, and then every time we have a round, you move forward with the money that you earn based on your bets, but also based on the horses that you have shares in, based on how they place in the round. So before the round starts, you get to place bets. Now there's this really cool board in the very center that has all of the first, second, third place odds based on the horses 2 to 12. And you get to place these bets. They are all positive bets. and they are all multipliers. And so you're going to place these bets face down. A really cool thing about the bets is that if you are in the first place position, which means you have the most money, you're going to place your bets, and you can only place one bet token per space. That's it. So you can place in this spot, in this spot, in this spot, this spot, this spot. If you're second to go, you can place up to 2 bet tokens per spot. So if you really want to lay down all your money, you're like, this is the horse that's going to go, this is going to be the finisher, it's going to be first place, I'm going to get all this money, you can bet more. Third place person can put 3 chips down, and so forth. And so the earlier you go in the betting phase, the fewer amount of chips you get to place on the spots. Once the bets are all placed, on your turn, you roll the dice. Now, when you roll the dice, you look at the outcome and you say, do I want that horse to move 2 spaces, which is really good, or do I want that horse to move 1 space and then I get to roll the dice again, and whatever I get, they get to move 2 spaces. That's your choice. That's your turn. It's super easy. And so if you roll the dice and you're like, nah, I don't really care about horse 5, make them go 1 space. And then you roll again and you get whatever horse you get next. Let's say you get 8. That horse moves 2 spaces. And so horses are just going to move around the track, and whoever crosses the finish line is obviously going to win first place. Now, as you can tell, if you roll 7s, 6s, and 8s and things like that, those are going to be easier to roll. Not only are the horses more expensive in that area, those horses might have handicaps. So that means the first time you roll them, you have to take this X off, and it means it eats up their very first move. Now, again, on the outside though, you might have horses in the 2, 3, 11, and 12 who have bonuses. Like they get a +6 move, or they get a +4 move the very first time their number is rolled. So you might speed around the track because you have that bonus, because rolling an 11 or 12 is pretty hard, and it's not going to happen all that often. I love it. I love it so much. And, you know, I was way behind after round 2 because I didn't have an 8 horse, and Lewis had the 8 horse, and 8 horse kept coming in. And he got big prizes. He got the big purse. And I was like, oh, this is stinky. I'm not doing well. Rounds 3 and 4, my 4 horse, which he didn't have any bets or shares on, I just blew it out of the water. And I was so surprised my 4 horse came in. So exciting. All the horses have names too, which is cool. And it's just so fun and exciting. With 4 rounds, you get to really dig in, and it's all about that betting board. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm excited about my number 2 because we actually have a game that's very similarly named and horse themed. When this one is almost horse themed. It's called Horse Fever. This one is called Unicorn Fever. So Unicorn Fever was designed by Lorenzo Silva and Lorenzo Tucci Sorrentino. They also designed Horse Fever. Now, Horse Fever is very similar. They have changed things in Unicorn Fever, and I think what they did to change it makes this show up on my horse racing games list and not Horse Fever. So the original artwork is just as fun and silly and goofy, and I love the components, and we like Horse Fever enough that we actually have a copy of Horse Fever. We also have Unicorn Fever. Unicorn Fever is one that I'm going to share with people. This is really fun. There are so many cool things that make this the horse racing game or unicorn racing game to beat. So, first off, there are really cool, fun unicorns that are going to race across a rainbow to the pot of gold at the end. And to make unicorns maybe a little bit more enticing to boost or play with, you've got ranks. And so you've got like the top ranked horse, and it's going to be odds are not going to be great for payouts because they're probably going to win that particular race. And so the movement cards are going to make the top unicorns race a little bit faster and harder than the lower ones down on that odds chart. Now, if you want that one at the bottom to go and you bet on them, that's a 7 times payout, which if that horse finishes first, wow, kudos. So cool. So there's an odds track of the payouts for betting on particular unicorns. There are also magic cards you get to play. Now, magic cards either boost or impede unicorns, and players can play those magic cards on any unicorns that they want. So you can really trip up somebody else's unicorn because you see that they're betting heavily on them or they have investment in them in some way. Ah, it's so fun. So these bonuses are like, move extra spaces, or you don't move on your first one, or you get to do something really cool when you roll the sprint dice. Now, when movement happens in these unicorns, they're going to move according to the movement card. They're also going to maybe move with the sprint dice, and you roll those, and that adds just a little bit of luck and fun to it as well. So what do you do on your turn? You're going to take an action, and there are so many different places to go. There are contract cards that are going to give you bonuses and boosts and money and opportunities and kind of give you a little bit of an edge. There's going to be a place to grab money and maybe the first player token if somebody else hasn't taken it yet. There are 2 places to place bets, and there's another place that allows you to play magic cards only. Now, these are all going to be tiles that other players are going to want to take. The first person that goes to an action is going to get the best action. Now, if you go after someone's gone there, you're going to get a slightly less beneficial action, but it's still going to be good. So the sooner you get to a location to do an action, the better, because you want to get the best action that location offers. I think this is a clever, fun game, and you are rooting for these horses, and when a horse comes in last place, they get a super special boost for that next round to try to, bring them out of the bottom and give that horse or unicorn a fighting chance. Okay, moving on to my number 1. This is still by far the most thematic, fun, and most played horse racing game in my house. It is my favorite. And long shot. Yeah, again, if you've seen my video of my favorite games, the long shot is one of them. I think this is just a fun and thematic horse racing game that gets my blood and my heartbeat, everything just rises, and I'm just like, oh, I love it so much. And the way it works is you roll 2 dice, and there's a movement die, which is the D6, and then there is the horse die, which is a D10. And so out of the 10 horses, you're going to roll those dice, and that horse is going to move 0, 1, or 2 spaces. In the beginning of the game, though, you get to have an opportunity to buy a horse. Now, you can always buy a horse, but obviously in the beginning of the game, one of your actions, you're probably going to buy that horse because you want to have dibs on these horses. They're so fun and interesting. I love the names. They each have a special ability that when you are the owner, you get to do or apply in some way. And another cool thing about these horses is that when it's your turn and you roll a die to move a horse, there's this kind of trigger domino effect, which means that if you roll that particular number that shows up on a horse you own, that horse is going to move too. So even though you didn't roll their number, but you rolled a different number that shows up as one of those trigger numbers, they go. It's just the neatest. So you have these cascading effects, you have special effects, you get to play cards, and these cards are just so flavorful. I mean, you lucky number, and you get to bet things, and you got a wad of cash and a roll of quarters, and it's, hey Joey, got any money? I mean, it's, I love it so much. I feel like I'm there. Like that game it just puts me there. I feel like the race is going the whole time. You just racing, and playing cards and racing around. And this is the only game, I think, of all of the horse racing games that has just one race. In the other ones, there are rounds, multiple rounds, and like 3 or 4 different times you get to play. Now, Billabong is just one time around as well. So a long shot is just one long race, and you just want your horse to finish. And you get to bet on other horses, even if they're doing really well and you're not. You can still, I want to bet on horse number 7. Yeah, I want to bet on 4, Slow Jen. She's really, she's really moving it. She's not slow anymore. Yeah, I just love it. I love it. I think my biggest suggestion is to make sure you play with chips, poker chips, and not paper money that the game comes with. And the horses are not great in this. Our little plastics keep coming off. But I can't fault it. I just can't. Those are things that I wish were different, but I don't care. I love the game. I love the theme. I love the way the horses run. I love everything about it. And so for me, Longshot takes it, and you should be playing all of these horse racing games. I love horse racing games, like, again, so much. And I think all of these are worthy of your attention and your gameplay. And maybe, when conventions open up again, who knows? Maybe we can actually play a horse racing game together and have that really fun, exciting experience, because they're just great, and there's nothing better than a great horse racing game. Okay, let me know what you think in the comments below. I will see you next time.